Hello and welcome to Tech Tuesday. Today's topic is forms in Microsoft Word. My name is Danielle Ackle. I'm an instructor over in the Neely School of Business, and I'm very glad that you're joining us today. If you look at the upper right hand corner of your screen, you're going to see that there's a file located there to correspond with today's training. I'm going to show you what's in that file. We've posted it there because this part is a little bit tricky and you may forget, so I want to make sure that we've given you clear instructions. As we're in Microsoft Word, you want to make sure that in your ribbon up at the top, you have this tab called Developer, and it's typically not turned on. You have to go turn it on yourself, which is what's included there in those instructions. So let me show you how to do that real quick. If you come up here to the File tab, you're going to click on File, and then you're going to go down here to Options. When we do this, we get our dialog box that pulls up, and you're going to search for the one that says Customize Ribbon. And this is what will allow us to add and create the ribbon at the top and customize it. If you look over here on the far right hand side, you'll see the main tabs. Probably the only one that you do not have check marked is called Developer. And so it's most likely going to be collapsed when you get there. So you just have to check mark it, and you too will have the ribbon that I have. And so once you do that, you've check marked Developer. You just have to click OK, and now it will be up here in the top of your ribbon. What we'll be using in the Developer tab today is the legacy forms. And under Controls, you'll see this little tiny toolbox with what looks like a screwdriver next to it. If you hover over it, it'll say Legacy Tools. We're going to click that open, and you'll see there at the top of that little box it has Legacy Forms. Those 6 options is what we'll be using today. Below that, it has ActiveX controls. Now, those are scripted controls, so there's some things going on behind that. Although you can use those, you've got some more options under ActiveX controls. I encourage you not to start there. Start with the legacy forms. Legacy forms are kind of dumb boxes. There's nothing attached behind them. Sometimes when you use the ActiveX controls, because of the script behind it, your mail clients or other spy catching software thinks that they're macros and that there are viruses attached. So I've seen forms be stripped and you can't fill them out because virus controls will look at that and strip out all of your ActiveX controls. So we're just going to use legacy forms. Again, very easy, no issue sending it through email or off campus. So legacy forms is what it is. Looking at these 6 options, the first one is a text form field. And a text form field is just a box where you can type any information, so letters and numbers. The next one is a checkmark box, just like it says, a checkmark box. The next one is really cool. It allows us to create a drop-down form field, so you can choose from options, and we create the options that go in there. The next one gives us a box around our information. The 5th one here is shading. As we insert text fields for someone to fill in, we want to shade it so it's darker. Otherwise, you won't be able to see where your text fields are on the page. And then this very last one, once we've filled out our form and we want to go back and change up some things, when we go back into our editing mode, it's going to reset. That is, clear out all the information that's been typed. It helps us just clear the form. I've seen forms that are pages and pages long. You can imagine trying to go through and delete it. So this is a quick eraser, sets us all back to normal. All right, so let's take a look at our document we're going to be working in. Created this silly little information sheet. I imagine that you have forms that you use as well on a regular basis that you've created to gather pertinent information. In this case, it's just we're going to gather some information about the employees that we may need. You know, their home address, we want to send them a birthday card, date of birth there, of course, and then department. Now, on the department, you can imagine all the different types of entries that we'd get here. So that's where we're going to use our drop-down field and force them to choose from different departments. And then our just emergency contact information. Very basic. Now, if I save this Word document and I send it out to a group of employees, when I got it back, they'd all look different, right? So the first person would type away. And as they typed away, you know, it's pushing that line out to the side there. And it's not actually going very far because I used a hard tab stop. If I did not have that tab stop, you'll see as I type away, you know, that line keeps moving on me. And so when I get them back, they look all kind of weird and it's not underlined anymore. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to undo all of my typing. One of the first things you want to do is, create your line, but then also use those hard tab stops there to ensure the line is not going to expand any further past that. Now, what I've done is I've actually put in just one tab and underlined it. So I'm going to create my text field first. I want them to type where their name goes. Now you'll see when it put in, it's not underlined. So I'm just going to underline it. I've highlighted it and I'll hit Control U to underline it. That's it. Now I've created my form field. So when I lock down this form and the person can only type where I've allowed them in these little form fields, when they type their name, the line's not going to expand, but that little box will. It's the only place they can type. So I want to do this as well in my address. Now I'm going to hit just copy and paste it. So I can hit Control C to copy and then Control V as I paste it on down. All I'm doing is Control V. Now when it comes to male female, how about instead of them typing something like an X, how about if we do a check mark box? So in this case, I'm going to delete the line that I had previously put there. I'm going to go up here to my Legacy Tools, and under Legacy Forms, I'm going to hit the check mark box, and it just allows them to check it off. I'm going to put a space in between there, make it look nice and neat, and I'll do the same over here. I'm just going to add my check mark box. How easy this is. Okay, I'm going to go back and just show you again. Use the Legacy Forms, and I'm going to do a text field here. It did not underline it, so I'll highlight that. Control U is underline. Of course, you can always go back up here to your ribbon and click on Home, and there's all of my controls that you can make them different fonts and sizes. So right now, the way I've got it set up is it's going to default to what everything else is. So if I click on Name, it shows you that it's just a standard font. If I click on my text box, you'll see it's the exact same, but I could make it different. So I could change it and say I want this one, and we're going to make it real big. We're going to make it Arial black, and we're going to create it in a larger size, so it'll be 14. So now you'll see when I lock this down and I show you how to fill out the form, it's going to be a different font. So you have that option. It's just a generic or just the standard as everything else in the document right now, but you can change it up. So now let's get creative here. We're going to do the drop-down box. So I'm going to go back to my Developer tab, and I'm going to use my little toolbox, and it's that third one. If you hover over these, they tell you what they are. So there's my check mark, and here's my drop-down. So let's do an insert a drop-down. Okay, so it's not underlined. That's the first thing I'm going to do is Control U and underline it. Now, it's just blank. What I need to do is I'm going to double-click on it, and here are my options. So it pulls up my dialog box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in all of the options I want to give someone. So what department? We're going to pretend it could be accounting. They could be in finance. They could be in management. Maybe they're in nursing. How about religion? And let's create another one. Let's do economics, and that may not be a college department, but it's okay because I want to show you if you would like these in alphabetical order, you have the option of selecting any one of them and then using the arrows on the right to move them. Use economics and move it up. Everything else looks like it's in alphabetical order, and so I'm good to go. Now, if I would like to remove, let's say I don't want religion, no longer in my department, so I'm just going to select it and then hit remove. And it's gone. So I can just delete it, and that's it. That's all you have to do to move things around. So I can add more, or I can delete them and I can move them around. Now, you don't want to use the macro here. Again, we want to keep this macro free. And I could give it a name, but the name's not going to show up anywhere. That's just for my reference. And then, of course, you want to check mark. The drop down is enabled. You could uncheck mark that, which means they're going to be forced to the first option and they won't be able to change it. So I can always make sure it's enabled. And then hit OK. Now when I do this, it is going to populate in the field the very first option. And they'll see that there'll be a little arrow there to indicate you can use the drop down. Now you may not want that. You may not want a default entry. So if you want a default entry, great. It goes first in your list. But let's not. Let's change that. So I'm going to double click again right there over accounting. And what I'm going to do is my default is going to be choose one. I'm going to add that to my list, and then I'm going to move it using the arrows and make it number 1. that will be the auto-populated choice. So now when they see my form, it'll say choose one instead of accounting. Down here, we're going to put in our emergency contact information, and I'm just going to copy and paste from above to keep my line. So I'm going to choose here, and I'm going to say Control C, copy, paste, and then I'm going to do another drop-down box. So come up here to our legacy forms. Remember, if you forget what these are, I sometimes do, you just want to hover on it until it tells you drop down form field. So click that. I'm going to underline it. And then I'm going to double click, and there's my dialog box so I can type in things so we can get creative here. So we'll say spouse, friend, mother, father, not the same thing, mother, father, child. You can imagine get very creative with this list. But again, I want my default to be choose one. So I'm going to type in choose one, add it to the list, and then I want to move it to the top. So that's going to be my default. The very first one is the default that the person will see as they're filling out my form. So I hit OK, and there we go. We got choose one. Now I have this really cool looking form. So how do I get it so that when I send it to someone, they can't make changes? Like right now, I can still make changes and accidentally start typing somewhere wrong. Okay, let's lock it down. Up here at the top on the Developer tab, there is an option called Restrict Editing. That's what I'm going to click on, and you'll see that a dialog box pops up to the right-hand side. Now, we could limit the styles that they use. That just means change what they're allowed to make changes to, as far as think about formatting, font size, whether or not it's underlined. We don't want to restrict that. That's not what this is about. We want forms. And so don't worry about number 1. You want to check mark number 2 that says only allow this type of editing. And we're going to select filling in forms. Now, I've already been playing with this, so that's why I'm defaulted to the correct option here. But yours probably won't. So filling in forms. And then when you're ready, you say yes, start enforcing protection. Now, it's going to give me the option of a password. I encourage you not to use a password unless it's just some top secret form that you're using. The password you have to enter in order to come back and make changes to the form. You can fill out the form, but you can't make changes to the actual document. So passwords, required passwords means you have to enter it before you can make changes. I encourage you not to do this because I've got a form that's still in use I created back in 2003. I get phone calls about every 16 months asking me what the password is. I don't remember. And so if they ever want to make changes, they have to start over. And it's a multi-page document. So it's very frustrating. With as many passwords as we have to remember here, why give yourself one more? So I'm not going to give it a password, which means I'm going to leave it blank and just hit OK. All right, so now I have this beautiful form. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to email it to someone to fill out. When they get it, you can see that I'm trying to click up here in the title to make a change, and it won't let me. The only thing it's going to let me do is fill out my form and use the text boxes that I've created here. So now I've typed in the information, and you'll see that line's not moving because I use that hard tab stop. That's what I'm talking about up here, this hard tab stop. I can't click on it. So I'm going to hit tab, and I go down to the next line. And I'm filling out my form. And you'll see that the font in most of the fields is the same as the rest of the form, except in that first one we changed. And as I scroll down, now I can use my check marks. It does allow them to do both, but hopefully they'll know the difference. And we'll just check mark 1. I can enter my date of birth. And no, I'm not going to tell you my date of birth. We'll just enter numbers. And then the really cool one, the drop down one. So it says choose one. If I click in it, there's my box. Now I can select any of these, and it auto-populates for me. So now they can't get creative on what they call their department. It's a standardized one. And then of course we'll come down here and we'll say fill in the rest of the form, choose that relationship, and there you go. It's a brilliant form all filled out. Now if I save this, the information gets saved in it, and then you can email it to someone or email it back to the person. I can't come in this format and delete everything. So if you see here, remember how I talked about when we first opened this, one of the options up in Legacy Forms was this eraser to delete everything. As the end user, when the form's locked down, the only thing I can do is make changes to the form fields. If I want to delete the information, I need to have access to stop protection, and then I can come up here and erase it. So why this would be used, if you are creating your form and you want to test it out, you'll put in the protection, lock it down, and then start playing with it just like we did. And if you find a mistake, stop protection and then go use your eraser, and you can erase everything before you save it as a clean form. So however you save it is how it will be emailed out, or how it will be shared. So once you finish making your edits, make sure you put in your protection, start enforcing protection, and then save it. So if you save it without the protection, that person is just going to be a free edit, and it's going to look horrible when it comes back to you because they're not going to have been restricted to just your fields. So make sure that you enforce protection, then save it before you share it. Now, you remember how when we first started, you didn't have the developer tab? Most likely whoever you send this to is not going to have the develop tab, which means they're not going to have the button that says stop protecting. So they're not going to have easy access to unlock it and make changes. That's the good thing. Most people don't know how to use forms, so they don't know about that restrict editing button and how to unlock it. So again, I wouldn't worry about a password unless you've got some sophisticated users and you're really concerned that your form is going to be changed up on you. So this is our brilliant form, all filled out and ready to go. I'm going to start enforcing protection without a password. I'm going to save it, and now I can email it out to whomever I want. And that is it for our training today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, if you're wanting more information on how to find that developer tab, you'll see up here at the top right your Word handout. That's going to give you step-by-step instructions on how to bring that developer tab out for you in Microsoft Word. I hope you'll join us in 2 weeks. We will be covering on March the 7th. We're going to be looking at Microsoft Office, creating meeting requests and all the fancy things you can do with that. So join us on March the 7th at 2 o'clock for Microsoft Office